at least part of it because they have not had expenses that they would normally have.
No, when the sheriff does distribution, he writes out a check for 100% of it, each of the levy bodies, so.
If we
I figured they'd take it all, they were paying for that farm out in Bristol County.
stop, they have to take it all because we are not in a position to micromanage tax money that goes to the Board of Education. You're in no position to do that.
Well, it's set in code what they get.
Yes, you are, but you just said dictate.
The code cites that we distribute based on code.
Yes, it's based up on the levy distribution, so when.
They
the
don't
sheriff-
have to ask for the money,
No.
it just flows automatically.
Automatically by the 10th of every month, the sheriff writes a check out for the amount of his allowance.
We can handcuff the sheriff, I wouldn't suggest.
Yeah,
Yeah, sheriff's here.
I'm here.
There was what do we have? Oh, Pam Bruce is gonna be 9:45. There was some emails that flew around last night from Jennifer Piercy. Guidance on how the money for the $125 billion West Virginia will receive. It has been stated by the governor's office that local government are to receive 45% of these funds. As of this time, there has been no advisement on how this process shall work or how the funds will be distributed. So attached to this email was Coronavirus Relief Fund Guidance for State, Territorial, Local, and Tribal Governments. So it says necessary expenditures incurred due to public health emergency, costs not accounted for in the most recent budget.
Larry, you think our Branch County, that should be an expense of this thing too? The money that
Sure,
we're paying,
yeah, the money that we're paying to rent Dudley Avenue.
or whatever cost that would be,
Yeah.
should do that.
That is certainly,
Because it's for good, you know?
Well, this all kind of brings up a subject that I think that we need to figure out. There's all these different funding sources. We've got a burn grant for $24,000. We've got the $100,000 COVID-19 check from the governor, and all these things that the Congress has passed, and so on and so forth. But, I mean, we really need a central place where one person is overseeing this entire thing. And I just think it's emergency operations
I agree.
that they should be. And I talked to Rick this morning. I think they're okay with it.
Rick, you there?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna make you in charge of aggregating all the extra expense we put in due to COVID-19. So
Gotcha.
we'll be able to forward him the info.
I've got a question. The extra money, the money they're talking about that goes to the counties, was that finally put into that bill that the president's going to sign today or tomorrow?
If it gets passed by Congress,
If it gets passed by, has to get passed by Congress and then,
it was $11 billion, but it was for,
okay. So it was an add-on to the original.
I don't know, it's inside what I read. Bob TV called me yesterday, and I looked at it and found it inside that bill that they're supposed to look at today.
Okay, that's good.
So,
And keep in mind that there's a lot of misnomer about it. Let's go back to the hero case. Not really hero case. It can be used for certain things. The governor's saying it can be used for. I mean, they're saying one thing, but when we get to restrictions and what it can be used for, it's totally not close. So what's coming down the pipe, we just have to wait and see what's said versus what reality is. And I just want to keep everybody keep that in mind.
Mark, am I correct? We've set up the 406, it's a separate fund.
206. Yes.
206, whatever, but we set up a separate fund that, like the rent and stuff, we should start paying it out of there, so we've got one central place and it's all.
Yes, all the purchases that we've already made, that we qualify such, 911's made and emergency services.
I believe it
Those
says that
items.
you have to have a plan for it, Marty,
Yes.
as I recall the verbiage.
Right. Any expense we're doing, it'd be easier for Rick to,
We can just charge it to that one fund.
So the sheriff has expenses that are related only to this.
which he brought those, sent those to me to give to Tony because that's part of that burn grant. Which I guess Tony's doing it, but she should do that through Rick. Just have him be the central.
We'll set that up just as a separate federal line.
Right.
Grant.
And Mark, am I saying that you have the account and you know what's going in, what's going out, correct?
Yes.
So we have oversight on that account.
Yes, $100,000, I mean, that was just the first one, but it's just a separate fund itself, so that we have all the tracking.
Especially oversight of this kind of stuff would be very important for everybody.
Well, see, I'm gonna be reaching out to the health department because one of the big things that they're trying to accomplish is contact tracing. And so the ability to identify a COVID positive, then run to ground who they've been around, who might also be infected. And it's difficult when the CDC says that guy's a resident of Wood County, but he died in Florida, so he counts as a Wood County death. There's no contact tracing being done on the guy in Florida. He hadn't been to Wood County for over a month. They believe he contracted it on his travel.
That should just be noted, and
Right.
that would answer the questions then. Because you have no control of it, you can't do anything.
No, but we have 4 National Guardsmen stationed with the Health Department in Wood County. We also have 4 remotely stationed in Ohio. They're only working with our epidemiologists. And they're supposed to be conducting the contact tracing. That contact tracing, they're doing by telephone, text message, email. They're not physically going out and questioning people. And I say that's the safest right now, but they will have to incur expense to hire additional. And so,
Blair,
yes,
am I right? Another question. The cost of these National Guard people, is that picked up by the governor or is it picked
yes,
up by
that's
us?
the state.
That's the state, okay.
Yeah, and now questions are being raised about the governor testing everyone at a nursing home, including employees. And the guard is the one that's doing that. And if you ever saw the guard at a nursing home, they're in full hazmat suits. And the question was raised by a medical person, are they getting a waiver signed by the residents? Are they getting a waiver signed by the employees, or is this by governor order? And what if they don't have the mental capacity to sign?
And what about the power?
And are we just,
Commissioner, let me also add this morning on our 9 o'clock statewide EM meeting, once again, procedure's been changed outside the scope of what we've been doing for the last 6 years I've been here. And the whole testing thing is just, to say it's discombobulated right now is putting it lightly. There's so much confusion on who's gonna do what, where, how, and what procedure to use. I mean, it's getting to the point, it's getting very frustrating on our end.
Don't you think also, if you listen to the Attorney General, he is setting this world up for people's rights again, talking about churches and stuff. I mean, he broadly answered that yesterday on TV, but he's going to clap down on somebody, you know, arresting people for being in parking lots for churches, and et cetera, et cetera.
But I was kind of like getting this, I mean, people's calling up asking what the procedure is, and they just changed it again last night at 7 o'clock. I mean, come on. It's getting to the point that it's almost, ridiculous.
Almost.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm trying to be kind, sir.
Thank you.
He's trying to rent a car without a license.
Trying to rent a car without a license. It's strange times, it certainly is. But the allowable expenditures, we know what they will look like and what they are. And aggregating them with Tony and Rick so that we can but that's the other question is where do we submit them to?
Well, I think that's one of the beauties of having the emergency services director oversee it, because he knows that I'm sure there's certain areas that are only eligible. For instance, the hero pay is only eligible for certain things, but he may have another grant that one of the purchases would fit into that we don't have to allocate to that.
Like the CARES Act.
Yeah, he's one person looking at it, it's probably a good idea.
Quit bugging me, Chris.
Dun, dun, dun. Hey, everybody on Facebook, that's Angie.
Thanks.
But I mean, that way you got one person that can say, well, I can get the money out of there, but we don't need to use it here.
Right. There is a lot of work to be done yet.
I have a spreadsheet that came from the auditor's office that I'm supposed to be keeping track of everything on, doing that submit back to them.
Because you've got additional expenditures due to elections.
Well, the elections actually submit to the Secretary of State's office for approval. But the $100,000 and the other grants, I have to keep track of those and submit that to the auditor's office.
He was interviewed on Fox yesterday,
The auditor,
Secretary of State.
also, yes.
So we've probably got expenses you're not even aware of because they've been bought under normal
I,
line item.
Rick and the sheriff has already sent me their invoices for.
I mean, there's stuff like we bought in the office, like hand sanitizer and stuff that,
I'm catching those as they come through. Kristen's making copies of all of those so that we keep track of them.
Looks like when Chris buys additional technology to be able to operate a meeting like this,
Yeah.
those are reimbursable expenditures.
That's you're in that red same line. You're right, 306.
So,
well, what do you do when something is it would normally go under capital outlay equipment because it's something you may or may not amortize?
Right.
You're just gonna have to pick it up out of there, right?
no, it does fall in there, per the CARES Act.
No, but I'm just saying that we may expend those funds under another line item instead of that 206 because we wanna track it going forward.
Would a reference be good enough on something like that?
Well, I think if Mark gets a copy
Yes.
and Rick gets a copy on that.
We'll have all the receipts for additional technology, PPE, overtime. So if you're using your maintenance crew in overtime to clean, if we were able to buy one of those foggers, you've seen those, sort of like what Servco's using.
Sullivan's using.
If we bought those, then we need to make sure that's an expenditure we're gonna get.
About the red on this room.
Yeah, the rent on this room. Where every meeting we're paying rent on.
Well, and there's, Mark and I had projected back when they won it, there's loss too. We're losing money
We're losing revenue on this room.
on the shelters.
Part of our
That's part of it, you're right.
part of the activity for the auditor's office is doing actual collections for March and then do a report to March prior year. So
That'll
now
really equate into the hotel motel directly. That one's a quick and easy one to see the loss. But also the park. Each park has a loss. And I know that for Mountwood, I know Jeremy probably doesn't know to begin writing up his expenditures. He's bought a lot of additional cleaning and sanitation supplies. And they've had lost revenue for shelter rental on
So
sites.
we're losing money in parking lots.
that was in parking lots.
I was shocked, I came by the other day, it was pretty packed.
Well, it's because all the employees have figured out things.
wouldn't take long.
No, it doesn't take long. All the spots around the courthouse are being taken up by public data.
Of course.
There's not a lot of public debt employees.
No, but there's more than you think.
Well, I talked to we had a question whether we should continue to charge for paid parking.
I had another inquiry today about that. They said the Salvation Army waived it in their lot and that, what's his name? Waived it in their lot for.
Why don't we consider in that case, if we waive the cost of that fee, then the price space becomes open and can be rented by somebody else.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
Let's do that, okay? So if they want to lose their spot, they can quit paying.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to my wife runs the Camden Clark Foundation parking lots. She has about 500 spots. And she told anybody who wished to discontinue payment that they would lose their spot.
Smart.
Yeah, well, and it's not like anybody has approached us and said that I've lost my income, I can't afford to pay for that. I think they're all still getting their full paychecks. They're just working from home.
The one lady said her husband got a 20% pay cut, and I said, "Did you?" And that was fighting words. So, I guess. So we know we're gonna hold our expenditures, we know we're gonna do our best. We're gonna be sure and process any expenditures, tag it to Mark and to,
It wasn't because it was RCDI.
yeah, McCutcheon doesn't change, he
Right.
hasn't changed. But if
He's not giving that back.
we're not gonna be refunded. Someone said they wanted to credit, how long do they sign for a lease, 12 months?
I believe it's 12 months.
Why don't we find out, because I wouldn't be opposed to saying you get your 13th month for free. So they pay us $600 for the year and they
No,
get
they don't pay by, I mean, they're paying a month.
paid
month.
by the month.
Yep, month to month.
So they don't have a lease arrangement.
I think they signed something agreement, but I don't think it's necessarily for a year. It's just, you have spot 57 and it's gonna cost you $50 a month.
Okay.
And we have a waiting line for those spots. It's not like,
So therefore, if somebody gave up their spot,
oh, there'd be somebody in, yeah.
then we'll do that. We'll be responsible for patrolling that spot.
Well, we also have to, we're getting ready to restrike the entire lot of things while it's empty.
So if I rented a spot and I didn't take it, and Marty, if you came in and took my spot that I had, and I would call and say, get Marty out of my spot.
Right.
We're not in that kind of patrol business.
Right. I think Pam's on here, boy.
Hey Pam,
Hey,
tell us about the wonderful work we're doing on the census.
we all asked for an update, so I put together what I've come up with. Unfortunately, we're having many of the same problems that have already been raised with everything, with social distancing and the other safety measures imposed. That's meant the dates previously set for census activities have changed, sometimes on a daily basis. The good news is, although we still have a long way to go, Wood County is still leading the state in the number of responses thus far at 55.7%. The overall state rate is only 40.1%. And we appreciate those who have already taken the time to respond to the census, which is very vital, and the information, although confidential, the statistical information gleaned from the census is used to provide millions of dollars in federal funding over the next 10 years for many of the vital programs and projects and services that we are going to desperately need as everyone tries to recover from the effects of this pandemic. Overall, 70 million households nationwide have responded, which is only 48% of everyone. The Census Bureau temporarily suspended the field data collection activities, which were scheduled for March, and steps are being taken to reactivate that beginning June 1st. But of course, that's going to be contingent on a lot of other factors. So we'll keep everybody updated on that. And under the plan, the new plan, the Bureau would extend the window for this collection and self-response to October 31st, which will allow for a portion of counts to be delivered to the President by April 30th, which is 90 or 120 days later than it's supposed to be. And redistricting data to be delivered to the states no later than July 31st. Anybody who wants to just check on this information themselves can go to 2020census.gov on the internet, and there's constantly a lot of information flowing there. But as of this date, the most recent information I have, efforts are also being made to obtain flyers, which will be put in with school lunches since the schools are closed, and handed out at food banks and placement at remote post office counters in hopes of reaching out to folks who do not receive household mail on a daily basis. Our committee has been working very hard to get the word out, and it's important, the census is important, and we encourage everyone who has not yet answered to please do so as soon as possible. You can respond online, and many have chosen to do that, but there are many who either don't have access to the internet or do not wish to use this option. You also have the option of calling the Bureau at the toll-free number provided on the form that has been sent out and respond by phone. However, I have been contacted by a number of individuals who have repeatedly tried to use this number only to be greeted by no answer or busy signal. I have contacted the Census Bureau representatives regarding these problems, and because of the large volume of calls and issue related to staffing because of the virus, there may be a wait getting through. So we're just asking everyone to please be patient as the Bureau attempts to work through these problems. Previously, the post office individual questionnaires, which many folks prefer to make out and are sent in by mail, were to be distributed by April 16th. That did not happen. It's now been moved to April 30th. It may be moved again. So those folks who I talked to and told they were going to get a form on the 16th need to be aware it will be at least the end of this month, maybe longer. As soon as we receive information, I try to make it available through the media and online at the website. The county website address, www.woodcountywv.com, on the commission page has a link where I try to provide up-to-date information, including information on potential scams, which are also being, I don't think we're having too many problems here with that, but that will tell you what you need to ask or what you need to look for, and to make sure the person is indeed a census representative. These are difficult and trying times, but this county has a long history of stepping up when help is needed, and I just ask everyone, if you have the ability, please complete your census form as soon as possible, and let's keep showing the rest of the state what real leadership looks like in the face of diversity.
Question for you, Pam.
Yes,
Has our homeless count been completed?
I don't think, Bob, that it has. It's my understanding that that was supposed to have already been done or begun, and as far as I know, it has not, because they can't send out the field representative. So I think what they're doing, I'm not sure, but I think is they're trying to contact folks by phone and do things as remotely as possible. But at some point, they're going. I know that they have contacted the contacts because I gave them information on our shelter, house to home, folks at Westbrook, all those folks who deal with those individuals. That was provided like maybe a month or two ago. And so I know they have our information, but I'm not aware that places like, of course, with the nursing homes and all the problems, that's another issue, but they were trying to go to these institutions and facilities, and it's my understanding that that has not been completed.
my understanding is that they had a group count, maybe 2 months ago, month and a half ago. From all departments, I believe they got 108 or 110 actual homeless then. I don't know how you're adding on from nursing homes and stuff like that. I have the slightest idea how they would count those.
Yeah, I think the idea is just it's any group that traditionally might not be counted, or that's in an institution or a group home facility or shelter, which can include like the youth shelters, like Dusky Shelter here, nursing homes, assisted care homes, those kinds of places where folks may not be contacted individually for one reason or another to get some idea. So they may have done this, like I said, it's been probably 2 months ago that I gave them that information. So I don't know where they're getting, you're saying they came up with a figure of 110 homeless people?
I'm saying they all met someplace and went through
Oh,
the rivers and every place by the rivers where the cardboard houses are and counted
oh,
people.
okay.
That was,
Okay, that's
Tim-
through Westbrook.
yes.
Yeah, not the census.
So
Yeah.
we've had
But,
two,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
we've had
Yeah.
2 homeless counts. The first one was conducted, I think, in November. We totaled 58. The second one was conducted in late January with 110.
Okay,
So,
but those were done by our folks here, right?
and the reason,
By
and the
Westbrook?
thing, yes, the thing is, they didn't take their vital statistics for reason of the census.
Right, right.
So the
They
second,
do that to see how many folks there are, what their needs are, that
Correct.
kind of thing. That's done annually, and I'm sure that, Charles Rector, who's our representative at the Census Bureau, I gave him, and now the name's gone, but the young man, Tim, Bear at Westbrook's
right,
name and contact information. So he has that name and number, but I also told him he needed to check with the Latrobe Shelter, House to Home, the Salvation Army, and several other places who, food banks and that kind of thing, who deal with homeless folks who may not be, they may be at more than one location, but they may not be at more than one. So all those bases are supposed to be covered in this census count. And to my knowledge, that has not been done. I will ask Charles to give us an update. He's having trouble getting information as well, so because things are so fluid. He just emailed me this morning with this information about the other stuff. So, like I said, everything's just kind of, everybody's trying to adjust and do what needs to be done, but obviously it isn't going to get done when it was initially thought it was going to be done. So, but yeah, I'm sure that he'll contact, he's been very good so far about, contacting folks and doing things and keeping me updated almost on a daily basis. So, hopefully they'll get to that soon, but as of right now,
Hey,
as far as I
Pam?
know, that has
Pam?
not been done.
and
Yes,
will you make sure that Latrobe Street Mission and Salvation Army have the proper forms for those that have not filled it out?
yes. I'm not sure they give them a form. I'm not sure how that works, but I will find out what the process is, and then I will,
That is-
Those folks are incapable of filling out a form.
well, a lot of them are, and they don't have computers, so someone would have to, from the shelter, would have to, sit down with them or volunteer. See, we had all this planned out, before this happened. We were going to have volunteers going around, we were going to have, the libraries were going to provide assistance, they've been trained to do assistance at the library, and all this is just now moot because we can't do any of it. So, we have to punt, basically. So, but I will try to find out what the status of those forms are, if they are forms or if they just do a count, and then try to let the folks know what's going on if I find out what's going on about a date when that might happen.
We know that there's maybe 100 homeless and we don't know if they will be counted. We don't want to expend a ton of effort on 100 people. Our better efforts are spent trying to get the other residents, thousands of them, to report. So our Wood County self-response rate as of April 21st was 55.7%, 15.7% greater than the whole state. So you're doing a great job, Pam. Let's concentrate on that great job and make sure we get people to respond.
I think you're right.
Okay,
Absolutely correct.
Good job, Dan.
thank you.
Good job, Pam.
Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else?
We'll check on this in another couple days.
Just gave you,
Alrighty,
just gave you a touchless high
Thank-
five, man.
I'm sorry.
Just gave you a touchless high five.
Oh, okay. Well, back at you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What else for the good of the order?
We can go back to the draft room. I mean, I know we
Oh,
talked about
Mark wants to
everything.
talk about the drive-through.
So far, we've waited on 4 people and issued 5 birth certificates out there and made copies of 2 documents.
How many people are you staffing there?
1 person. And I tried to send somebody that had a little bit of knowledge about all the offices in case there was questions or something of that nature. That is it. I mean, right now, I think we're better spent on the absentee ballot applications. Trying to get those out.
Hey, Dave, you gonna keep somebody at the drive-through?
Yeah, we do, of course, in all 3 days.
Okay, so if somebody has a question,
every day.
if somebody has a question for the clerk's office, you'll be able to relay it?
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Okay,
And we're keeping a count on how many people come through talking to us. Yesterday was really slow. We only had 1 person. But we count every single person coming through, no matter who they're asking.
okay,
Do they take the signs down at nighttime?
yeah.
Yes.
I wouldn't
I
drive.
take it down at 1:30.
I didn't know, okay.
Mayor, I'd like to compliment the sheriff's drive-through. Those folks are really doing a good job down there, keeping the traffic moving. And the day I was there, they were at the line moving, so. Somebody's car failed and they got them pushed away from the drive-in window so they could keep on operating, so.
Bob, that's a shame that your car broke down. Yep, as long as we have somebody there at the drive-through on Dudley, if it picks back up based on your mailers, based on anything, we want to make sure there's a warm body there to answer a question.
I think now that the fact is that it's a deductible expense from a
Right.
fund, it makes it even a little bit better. And
It
we're
could
still doing
almost
our
be
job.
considered an overtime reimbursable expense.
Well, taking care of all of the absentees, we'd actually worked overtime last night on Tuesday night and I'm hoping I have to be
I
doing on
hope
Saturday.
everybody's wearing good PPE and taking care of themselves.
The ones that's available for everybody.
Mark,
Some are wearing, some are not.
Mark Schwindeman reached out to me and he will be joining us via conference call next Thursday to lay out the Blue Cross.
Have him send you or
He
me
is.
we can put up the slides.
Yeah, he sent me the information.
Chris, when do you think you'll get the big one up?
Better if you, oh, you're talking about that?
Um,
It's ordered, it's gonna be there.
That's an expense deductible from this thing too.
Yes.
yeah, they just have to run the electric and stuff for it, but
We'll need it
306.
for the Schwindeman presentation.
Not my call.
Or we could set up just a monitor on this desk or that desk. Doesn't matter. But
I mean, we know what we know pretty much what he's gonna say, but it's just a question of whether or not, how you guys feel and what you want to
come on, Angie.
Good.
Angie's back.
do.
But but she doesn't wanna be on Facebook.
So that's, I guess, probably the most pressing thing.
What day is that morning, Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday. And you guys will need to vote to re-up with them and what what he's proposing as being the parameters, which all makes sense.
That's good news. Anything else good for the order? Anybody who have a question that's on the line or via Facebook?
When's the governor gonna be on again?
1 o'clock,
Ish.
1 o'clock.
1:15.
Yeah, he was
Is there a
4
number-
PM
Number to
yesterday.
get in?
Just go to Google and type in WVGov YouTube, and it'll take you right to the feed.
Speaking of YouTube, Bob, since you were talking about education a while ago, I'd like to find out, if anybody can find out, I saw a documentary on, I believe it's Channel 13, that should be on YouTube, talking about the condition of the schools in West Virginia. And it almost makes you cry when you see the graduation rate and the literacy ability of the students that some of those schools down south. I mean, people complain about our education, and I'm saying to myself, I have 4 grandkids, 3 grandkids in college, graduating, and I'm thinking that these people can't hardly even get out of elementary school, so I don't understand why something else can't be done about it, But if you could find that, Bob, that would really open your eyes a little bit to what's happening in the state. It's pathetic.
Supposedly the schools here are talking about drive up graduation, I don't know how that's gonna work. All the students are gonna have a car to drive up.
It sounds like more like a parent of a student asking that. Because there's no parking lot big enough to put 600 or 700 people.
We can have it on Market Street, I guess.
You can have, that won't work.
Yeah, I've got a senior in high school. I understood that in July, that South is planning to try to have a graduation ceremony, but they had already ordered all their cap and gowns. My son and the seniors at PHS have yet to do so. So I think it's important they have something for them.
Well, South could lend them their gowns, I guess.
Negatively.
I think it's a different color, isn't it?
I don't think it'd go over very well.
Fair rug.
We can hand make them,
Wear white
and they'll all be
sheets.
wearing masks.
That's accused with mask.
Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none. Motion to
We got
adjourn.
paperwork to sign, Marty.
Yes, sir.
It'll be good this afternoon. All right.
10:08.